On many social networks, you post, comment, like, share links, photos, and clips. And here on YouTube, you're watching this video right now. All of that means you're already deeply immersed in the digital world. Nobody forced you into it. You stepped into this story yourselves because it's convenient, fun, or practical. The only real question is, what kind of world have you actually stepped into? And then, the moment you hear the phrase digital money, you feel resistance. It sounds dangerous, shady, artificial, like just another trick for controlling people. This video is meant to show you the other side of the story, how and why digital money really came to be, and how it can actually help you escape financial slavery in the future, instead of dragging you even deeper into it. As a technology, the internet is actually a beautiful concept. It's a decentralized network of computers that keeps working as long as at least a few machines can talk to each other. The internet itself has no director, no owner, no president. There is no single central off switch for the entire internet. But what the average user experiences as the internet in practice isn't cables and protocols, it's platforms, Google, Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, and countless smaller ones. Those are the entities that set the rules of the game, decide what's allowed and what isn't, who the algorithm will push and who it will bury, who gets promoted and who gets switched off with a single click. Cameras on the streets, facial recognition systems, banking servers, stock exchanges, government databases, medical records, tax filings, all of that lives on those same networks and is usually under the control of the same power centers. So it's natural that many people get a simple idea. If there was no internet, there wouldn't be all this control, so the internet is the problem. But the internet is not the problem. The problem is the people who learned how to use it to control other people and their money. The internet itself doesn't belong to anyone, it's infrastructure. But everything you rely on every day, social networks, search engines, apps, banks, belongs to someone, and that someone has a very clear interest. To understand how we got here, we need to take a step back. Back in the late 1980s, Timothy C. May wrote in his famous manifesto that the global network doesn't have to be used only for surveillance, but also for liberation, especially in the financial sense. About 20 years later, a group of programmers took that idea seriously and asked a simple question. Couldn't we build a parallel financial system that isn't controlled by the same people who can print money, destroy it, and print it again whenever they feel like it? That's how what we now call blockchain was born. A special type of network on the internet where rules are defined once in code and then apply equally to everyone. And it's worth reminding you, of all the money in the world, only about 8 to 10% exists in the form of physical cash and coins. More than 90% of money is already just a digital number in somebody's database. To make that blockchain actually useful, in 2009, the first serious digital currency appeared, Bitcoin, signed under the pseudonym Satoshi Nakamoto. So the first major digital currency was not invented by Big Brother. Quite the opposite, Bitcoin was created as a kind of counter-strike. From that moment, a real war of nerves began. For years, they've been trying to ban Bitcoin, shut it down, ridicule it, and bury it. Every few months, there's some bombastic headline about its final death, and then, a little later, a new all-time high. The reason is simple. People started using it on their own. Just like you created your Facebook or Instagram accounts by yourselves. Nobody held a gun to your head when you clicked sign up. Once it became clear that Bitcoin couldn't be shut down, they moved to Plan B. We can't destroy it, but we can buy it, track everything that happens around it, manipulate its price, and use it in our own games. And that is exactly what they're doing. Still, that's not the ultimate goal of centralized structures. Their dream is to introduce their own digital money that looks like crypto on the surface. Fast, convenient, modern, but without a single point of freedom. That concept is called CBDC, a central bank digital currency. It's not a cryptocurrency, it's a digital shackle around your ankle, carefully wrapped in marketing about easier payments and fighting the gray economy. Here it's crucial that you understand one thing. The fight to save cash is not a fight for freedom. It's a fight against windmills in a world that is already digital. The point is not to run away from digital money, but to realize there are two completely different sides of the same coin. Centralized digital money, which is their weapon, and decentralized digital money, which can be your shield. The first is a tool for final enslavement. The second is the beginning of liberation. We've already been seeing test runs of centralized digital money for years, including in Nigeria. When people realized what was coming, huge numbers of them fled into cryptocurrencies and blockchain networks just to keep at least some of their financial freedom. Today, close to 1 billion people have some kind of contact with crypto, but that creates another problem. 99% of everything that popped up after Bitcoin is pure garbage. Projects whose only purpose is to lure people in, take their money, and disappear. The OneCoin story and Ruja Ignatova should be mandatory reading for anyone thinking about entering crypto. So it's no surprise that most people in the crypto world lose money. They go in without knowledge, chase quick profits, believe the marketing, and end up in systems custom-built to skin them alive. That's why we have to bring the whole story back to the central dividing line, centralized versus decentralized. Facebook is a textbook example of a centralized system. It's just a program running on servers owned by a single company. Those servers are specialized, extremely powerful computers grouped into data centers around the world. If the Facebook management decided tomorrow to shut the platform down, they really could do it. A chain of decisions and a few clicks, and Facebook is gone. They probably won't, because it makes them billions. But they can absolutely shut you down. They can remove your page, your profile, kill your reach, block your ads. Everything you built for years can disappear in a second. The same pattern, unfortunately, dominates in the crypto world as well. Binance is a good example. On one hand, it's a huge exchange and blockchain network with billions of dollars in daily trading volume. On the other hand, that network is centralized to the point of absurdity. A small number of servers, validators, hold up the entire system. If those few players get together, the network can simply stop. On top of that, your Binance account is not your true crypto wallet at all. It's a user account at a private company, opened with your full name, address, ID, selfie. The keys to your money are held by Binance, not you. If tomorrow someone decides your account should be frozen, one click is enough, and you no longer have access to what you think of as your money. The famous crypto saying, "Not your keys, not your coins," is painfully true here. Decentralized crypto wallets work completely differently. They don't care about your ID card or passport. You can create a wallet in a couple of minutes, get a seed phrase of 12 or 24 words, write it down, and keep it safe. There is no support line that can reset your password. Whoever has the seed has the money. Whoever loses the seed loses access to the funds. On a centralized exchange, someone else holds the keys. In a decentralized wallet, you are your own bank. That's the context in which you should look at Mosaic Chain, a blockchain network with around 2,400 validators owned by roughly 2,000 people. Most of them have one validator, some have 2 or 3, a few participants own more, but no one has enough concentration of power to take over the network alone or in a tight little circle. The validators are spread across multiple continents and many different countries. Even if you wanted to capture the network, you have no idea where all these people are or who they are. And even if you knew, it would be practically impossible to convince hundreds of them to work together against their own network and against their own interests. Everything that runs on Mosaic Chain, MOS, HWAY, and all other tokens, exists on addresses inside that chain. Those addresses are controlled by their owners through their wallets. There is no such thing as a Mosaic account in the Binance sense. There is the Mosaic network, and there are your keys that grant you access to your funds. If tomorrow the entire Mosaic team vanished, all websites went offline, marketing stopped, and the project disappeared from social media. As long as there is at least one validator, and as long as you can connect to the network, you can open your wallet with any compatible client and access your tokens. That's the essence of decentralization. There is no central off switch. To understand how decentralized network really is, we need one more important tool: the Nakamoto coefficient. It tries to put a number on what your intuition already feels. The Nakamoto coefficient is the smallest number of independent actors, validators, validator owners, or groups, who would have to collude in order to halt or take control of the network. The smaller that number, the more centralized the network. The larger it is, the more resilient and decentralized it is. Every blockchain network consists of a set of validators that have the same software installed and jointly maintain the network. If a network has 100 validators and someone hypothetically destroys 99 of them, the network still runs. As long as there is at least one live validator, the network exists. Now imagine a network with 3 owners, each having one validator. That's 3 validators, 3 owners. If 2 of them agree to act together, they can shut down the network. The Nakamoto coefficient of that network is 2. Now imagine another network that also has 3 owners, but each one owns 1,000,000 validators. In total, 3 million validators. Sounds huge and very decentralized, right? But if 2 of them agree, they still control everything. The Nakamoto coefficient is again 2. So the raw number of machines doesn't mean much if they're concentrated in just a few hands. That's why simply counting validators doesn't tell you enough about decentralization. Ethereum, for example, has over 1,000,000 validators, and at first glance looks like an ideal decentralized network. But in practice, a few big entities, primarily Lido and Coinbase, control such a large share of validators that if they aligned and maybe added a few other big players, they could seriously compromise the network. In that sense, the Nakamoto coefficient is embarrassingly low compared to the raw validator count. On the slide you see now, you've got approximate Nakamoto coefficient values for several major networks. You can clearly see that for Ethereum this number is around 2. For Bitcoin, where a few of the largest mining pools control most of the hash rate, it's around 3. For Binance Smart Chain, with a small number of active validators and strong central control, it's around 7. For networks like Sui and Aptos, the value is around 17. For Near, around 18. For Solana, around 19. For Avalanche, around 24. And for Thorchain, around 33. Polkadot, one of the best examples of a large proof-of-stake network, reaches about 132. In that crowd, Mosaic Chain stands out as an extreme, with around 2,400 validators owned by roughly 2,000 people. Estimates say that in theory it would take more than 650 independent actors colluding to halt or capture the network. In other words, Mosaic plays in a completely different league when it comes to decentralization. And the story still doesn't end there. Mosaic chain validators are not just sitting naked on the public internet. Their traffic is routed through Nebula VPN, a private encrypted network, which makes it practically impossible for an outside attacker to precisely locate individual machines. Even if someone destroyed one physical computer, the network keeps running. The owner simply spins up a validator on a new machine and continues as if nothing happened. So on one side, you have the world of centralized digital systems, social networks, banks, big exchanges, future CBDC projects. In all of those models, somewhere there is a switch, someone who can decide to turn you off. On the other side, you have decentralized networks and wallets, where such a switch simply doesn't exist. If you hold the key, you decide. Mosaic chain is a concrete example of how that idea looks in practice. A network that isn't controlled by a single company, a single server or a single state, but by thousands of people around the world, with a Nakamoto coefficient that breaks all previous records. Big Brother understands this very well. The problem is that most ordinary people don't have the time or energy to dig into it. And yet, the tool that can get them out of a system of total financial control is right there in their hands. The real question is no longer whether you'll use the digital world, you already do. The real question is whether you'll remain forever just users of someone else's centralized platforms, or whether you'll move at least a part of your life and your savings into a world where you hold the keys.